investor ought to ask themselves before they buy a stock, even before we get to price and so on, is buying a stock is a far more complicated activity than most people seem to think. So what's happened with the development of markets is on a smartphone or a tablet or a laptop, we can in seconds buy one of thousands of companies. And there's no effort required to buy a stock, no effort required to sell a stock. But in order to do well, one really needs to understand the underlying business and to have a point of view on kind of where that is versus the market capitalization. So I'll give you an example. Many times in the US, like I'll go to my health club, for example, and one of the members will ask me, hey, Mohnish, should I buy Apple? Should I buy Apple stock? And I turn the question around to them. I say, hey, John, what's the market cap of Apple? And they look at me with a puzzled look. They said, the stock is at 170. I said, no, what is the market capitalization? And they don't know. Okay, so the first thing, if you're going to go buy some rice in the market, you're going to know what is the price per kilogram. So the first thing is that if you're going to buy a stock, at least know what you can buy the whole company for. And most investors don't have that knowledge, which is amazing. And so the first thing an investor ought to ask themselves before they buy a stock, even before we get to price and so on, is this within my circle of competence? Now, circle of competence is a very important concept, one of the most important concepts in investing. A person like Warren Buffett would consider something like 95% of stocks outside his circle of competence. And he says that, probably 97, 98% of things that show up on his desk go into a box called the too hard pile. He can't figure them out. Okay, so there's just a sliver of businesses. Now, if Warren Buffett can't figure out 95% of businesses, for the rest of us humans, we can't figure out 99% of them. So most things are going to be outside the circle of competence of most investors. So now let's say an investor answers the question correctly. Yes, I understand Apple, and I understand it's within my circle of competence, right? So the next question then comes up is the question I asked. What could you buy the whole company for? And then the second question an investor should ask is, so let's say an investor knows Apple is worth $1 trillion, for example. So the question I would ask them is that if your family had a fortune of $4 trillion, would you be willing to put 1/4 of that fortune into Apple? And if the answer is yes, buy the stock. If the answer is no, don't buy a single share. And so these are just very simple, which is, look at your net worth, look at your family's fortune, and are you willing to put 1/4 of it buying the whole company that you want to buy 100 shares of? And so